Brother Darrell, we on.
Greetings and welcome to another powerful edition of the Community Defender Talk Show. One powerful hour of truth dispelling falsehood. I am just your brother, Brother Darrell Muhammad, and we're very glad that you have tuned in to tonight's program. And of course, we're going to stay with a theme that we've been running with in view of all of the things that have been happening, and that is Black people. What is our next move? We have a very special guest, as we had on last time with Brother Halim. We now have Minister Willie Muhammad, who is the minister in the city of New Orleans, Mosque number 46, a very powerful group of believers that are doing great things in the city of New Orleans and very active in the streets and the suites of New Orleans. Brother Minister Willie, I want to thank you for taking time out of your very busy schedule to grace us with your presence. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam, man. I want to thank you, brother, for your consistency, being that you are approaching your 27th year. So I thank you for that consistency. And I also want to thank all of those who helped to make this show possible as well.
Absolutely. And we definitely thank you. And of course, we do subscribe and we make no apologies for it to the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I make no pretense about it. That's how I'm rolling. I'm rolling with the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. And so what we do very often is we show a video clip of the Honorable Louis Farrakhan expressing the wonderful life-giving message that he has. And we often start off with a clip that we hope will set a great tone for the rest of the show. So let's go ahead, Brother Director, and run that clip if you can.
The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Time is what really dictates agenda. If you don't know what time it is, you might be doing the right thing at the wrong time and get not the right results. The question that we have to ascertain is, where are we? Not in this time, but in God's time. There is a spiritual dimension to this problem.
Yes.
And that we have to consider. Are we working against what God wants? Or are we working in harmony with what God wants for a people that this book delineates clearly that something is wrong?
Yes.
Wrong with the government in which we live, wrong with the leaders that lead us, wrong with us in the way we respond to our enemy and each other. This nation is not about poor people, whether they're black, brown, red, yellow, or white. This nation is about rich people, privileged people, powerful people, and to hell with the weak, the poor. They must serve. Now, Harry Belafonte said a few weeks before Martin Luther King was assassinated, they were meeting to talk about the march in Memphis. He went over to his brother, and according to his words, he said, "Martin, you seem melancholy. What's troubling you?" And Dr. King said, "I fear that I am integrating my people into a burning house." We don't see the fire, but the house is burning. He said to my dear brother Harry Belafonte, we have to be firemen to put the fire out. I said, no, we must let the fire burn. When John baptized Jesus, he said, I baptize you with water, but there's one coming after me that will baptize you with fire. Why fire? Because nothing remains in its present form when fire touches it. America must be burned. Listen to me, because I really don't care no more about what anybody thinks. Because if we're going to go down this road and make a covenant, we can't make another covenant with death. You said, Tavis, what is that word about promise?
Barbara Jordan, what the American people want is simple. They want an America as good as its promise.
Well, America is no good at all. If you have made a promise that you don't keep, what are you? You are a liar. Did they promise the Native Americans? Did they write it in treaties? Did they fulfill it? Did they promise us 40 acres and a mule? Did they fulfill it? Brown versus the Board of Education. 50 years later, where's the promise? Is it fulfilled, or are we still in segregated schools? The right to vote, you got it? But the minute they gave it to you, they were finding ways to take it back from you. Can't you open your eyes and see the house is burning?
Wow, powerful words from the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. And of course, we want those words to kind of set the tone for what we're dealing with today in the state of Louisiana, and of course, all over the electoral maps of this nation going into this congressional race in November. A lot of our people are just so hot, so bothered, so frustrated by the political things that have happened. And of course, we have a program that we believe our people should subscribe to, a program that we hope our people will be receptive to. Our program has always been relevant. It is relevant every minute of every day, but we hope that based upon what we're seeing, our people will be receptive to it and see the reality of it in this day. Brother Minister Willie, what are your thoughts? We're dealing with what is our next move as Black people?
You know, those words by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan are so fitting even today. And I think that was probably, over 10 years ago, right? When he actually did that. I think really, brother, the way forward is what it has always been. We know what we have to do. The challenge has been actually doing it. You know, the challenge is that's actually doing it. And that's whatever Black organization that we can mention. We have to do the things that we've been talking about that needs to be done. And as I was listening to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan speak, it made me just wonder if, no, it really pretty much is, you know, the Most High Elijah Muhammad said, do for self or suffer the consequences. And we are just really living in that second part of that statement. We are suffering the consequences. You know, we're suffering the consequences. Just that some of our people still believe that there is hope in this system, you know, and that is done. Some of them have been manipulated to believe that because, you know, we get certain little successes or certain little gains and we feel like, see, we're making progress. But historically, as it is shown, every time Black people in America have made some progress, it has been followed by a backlash of white anger and white hate. You saw that after the Reconstruction. You saw that when President Obama got into office. Anytime we make a step forward, those who are the majority in this country see that as a threat to white supremacy, and they do something in response. They don't just talk about it; they do something.
That's right, and they have taken a lot of action, eliminating the 6th district that was held by Representative Fields, and of course eliminating our brother's seat, Calvin Duncan, right as he was set to take office. A wonderful triumphant story of overcoming injustice to become very successful. And it just seems that the enemy always wants to mess a beautiful story up, mess a beautiful narrative up by taking actions to derail that narrative, you know.
You know, it's interesting that the very legislation that was used to create those voting districts, they came back and used that very legislation, the very act, to come back and say, no, this is what we're going to use as a basis to eliminate it, right? And, you know, it's interesting, like with here in the city of New Orleans, I think about it, or just politics in general, you know, I wonder sometimes if it's what you don't use, you lose, in the sense that we elect these Black political officials, but when many of them get into office, they don't have that Black consciousness like that. In the city of New Orleans, I give you an example. For the first time, they've elected a white female mayor, right? She says she's Latino. And she won over her opponent, Brother Oliver Thomas. And it was interesting to see, man, how many Black veteran political officials threw their support behind her over Oliver Thomas. And Oliver Thomas supported these people in their previous political bids. And so it just made me think about, like, some of our politicians want to talk Black when it's convenient to them. But when it's time to make decisions based upon Black interests, we don't want to do that. You know, we start coming up with this, you know, can we all just get along and all of this type of stuff. And it's not like OT, we call him OT. It wasn't like he was not politically qualified. The man that served as city council several times, you know, a lot of stuff. But it's interesting. So the thing is now, if you go back and look at it, our responses are pretty much the same. Black people start talking about, we need to vote, we need to vote. They start saying we need to unify, we need to unify. But once everything begins to start dying down, we go back to business as usual.
The lull us right back to sleep.
Yeah, the law's right back. And sometimes, if you look in that video, I don't know how when the minister said he didn't care how people felt about what he said, it made me wonder if he felt some energy or saw some people's expressions that disagreed with him talking about America has never been good. And there's some of our people, brother, as you are aware of, they want to be in this system. They want to be in this system. But I've been studying, I studied some time ago, Yaqub. And for those who are familiar with the teachers of the Most High Elijah Muhammad, you're familiar with who that is. And remember, the Most High Elijah Muhammad said that he was Yaqub, he's Yaqub in reverse. And when you look at the thing that one of the things that Yaqub did, Yaqub wasn't trying to save everybody. Yaqub was looking for a segment of people who was willing to adhere and believe in the program that he had. And then he understood that we're going to take these people and bring them to a different location, and we're going to work on building ourselves up to where we're strong enough, and then we can come back out and influence the population that we once were amongst. And I think sometimes, is it time for us to do that? Like, hey, I remember, may Allah be pleased with his sister Ava Muhammad was traveling around the country doing those town hall meetings on separation, where it finds out who are those people who have a desire, who want to do something for themselves and don't tired of fighting against Black children being facing life in prison, tired of fighting against efforts to pull back political voting rights and all of this stuff, and say, man, you know, we want to go. We're these group of people that want to go begin to start doing stuff for ourselves, and it can be done. With the question we have to ask is, do we have the will to do it and the knowledge?
Right. And I think we have been listening to the false promises of the system, and of course, now that the civil rights movement has gone, and of course, the civil rights movement never did have majority Black support. When Dr. King was here, nearly 60% of Black people either disagreed with what he was doing or disagreed with the methods that he was. So he wasn't really popular until after he was assassinated. The same with Malcolm X. People who talk about Malcolm as their man would never have gone near Malcolm, would never have taken a picture with Malcolm, just like they're afraid to take a picture with the Honorable Louis Farrakhan even now. They're afraid to take a picture maybe in your city with you, you know, as the representative of the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. So you can't fight white supremacy and bow down to it at the same time. And I think that's what we do very oftentimes. We bow down to it, but how can you defeat something that you acquiesce to? You can't do it. So when you're in a war against white supremacy, you have to meet it head on from a doctrinal standpoint and by doing for yourself. And as the Honorable Louis Farrakhan said, white supremacy will be defeated by Black excellence. And that's what we really should focus on right now, is that Black excellence. And I've argued for the past few years that we need to be dealing with education and agriculture, growing our own food and being in control of what goes on in the minds of our own children. But you're absolutely right, Brother Minister. The thing now is on voting. When Donald Trump won, all of the Black talking heads bashed Black people for not voting and never bashed the other people who went out and voted for Trump. But it just seems that Black men in particular get hit hard, and it's never the underperformance of the policy that of the party that we back. We back a party that has, let's face it, it has not performed well. It has not delivered. When it has been in power, it has not delivered on those things that Black people need. That's where I think if any blame should go, it should go to that. You know, what say you, Brother Minister?
One of the things, you know, with this voting, if it's organized, if the voter is educated, and there's a financial substance behind it, it can have an impact, right? But a lot of times now, our people are often just emotionally moved to just say, go vote for this person or whatever. And, you know, there's a lot of stress on voter registration, but I don't really see a balance on voter education. How many of our people, when they go into these voting book polls, they're people that they haven't really researched and they just do eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and they vote? That, and, you know, people talk about our people die for the right to vote. I don't think our ancestors died for us to just go in and just cast a vote all willy-nilly. We have to be strategic with our vote. Brother Dr. Ridgely Muhammad recently released a paper that he put it, and I'll send it to you. He's talking about, did Malcolm X outgrow his teaching? And he found an excerpt that was, they greatly altered it, that it was supposed to be in Malcolm X's autobiography, where Malcolm X was talking about how the Most High Elijah Muhammad was saying he was going to work to organize our people to vote in a block, a voting block, not loyal to any political party, but to put our agenda on the table and say, what can you do for us? And then have a consequence if they didn't do for us. So we have to begin to start voting strategically. And I hate when there's something that goes, when something takes place on the election and the outcome is not what Black folks want or Democrats want, or they feel like people didn't show up. You know, they say stuff like, if it was the second line, y'all have been out there voting. And to me, that statement is rooted in classism, because they don't say, if it was the Saints game, You feel what I'm saying? Most of the time, they kind of associate people who go with second lines of these are lower class black people, but as if our people don't see the game, and they're saying like, man, I'm tired of participating in that. You see, they just voted for Calvin Duncan. Look what happened. They got in there and used their offices to strip this man out of his particular seat, right? So voting has its place, but as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said, he said politics without economics is a symbol without substance. You look at Brother Dimitri was telling me about a article that came out, and they were talking about in regards to some of these other groups that don't vote as much, but they still wage great political power and influence the Asian community. You see what I'm saying? So I forgot what it was called, the political, I can't think of the name of it, but you know, in regards to what we have to do, eventually we all gonna have to get together, you know, and those who are serious gonna have to begin to start saying, listen, we gotta go out here and we gotta start doing it. And I think also too, we gotta have an example for our people as well. You know, we can't keep saying, you know, hey, don't drink that dirty glass of water. Then when they come and say, well, what can I drink? Man, you got to see this clean glass of water I'm going to have for you. Well, right now, I need water to drink right now. You know, so I think if more of our people saw things that were tangible, that they can see, then they'll say, okay, I can do that. But, you know, like when the Most High Elijah, how to eat to live, when he told us, don't eat this, but he also said, you can eat this. He gave us something to do in place of it, you know? So with it, man, we just have to do, and I'm saying we, even as the Nation of Islam and other organizations, whatever the platforms that they believe, or we believe that are meant as a solution for our people, we have to do them. And I don't know if you notice, like if you call a community meeting now, people want to hear less talk. They want to know, okay, I understand the problem. What are we doing? I don't know if you noticed that. Your sound went out.
There was a young man in his 20s. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
But he came to the mosque today. He just came to the mosque and he wanted to speak to somebody. Somebody, I need to talk to somebody. And so I went out to have a conversation with the good brother. And the brother was like, we need to do something. You know, we got all these Asians that are disrespecting us. And he was just going into all of the different problems. And he's like, we got to do something. You know what I mean? And he was like, I'm willing to work. You know, I don't care who you, I don't care if you're Muslim, I don't care if you Hebrew Israelite. We all are black people. He just went in a whole rant right out there in front of the mosque, like we got to do something. And the brother may have been about 25, but he just pulled up somewhere where he could vent and maybe get with somebody to take some action, because he's like, we got to do something. We can't leave things like they are.
Brother Darrell, we have a caller. You care to take a call right now?
Yes, sir. Let's go ahead and take that caller and get our guest to respond.
Okay, go ahead, caller.
Yeah, good afternoon, guys. Great topic, Brother Muhammad, Brother Darrell. But I was listening. Didn't Mr. Farrakhan said that Harry said that Martin said that the house was burning, that we should let it burn? You know, they gave us all the answer we needed, so we don't have to ask black people what's our next move. Our next move is to get with ourselves. You know, that's the biggest problem we not understanding. We are talented and truly people about ourselves and always trying to save a country that doesn't worry about us. And our biggest problem is that we are putting politicians who always keep us in this kind of conflictions with these lies and narrative for them and their families to eat. But the biggest thing that we not understanding, you know, Mr. Muhammad, you said about Yaqus said that we was going to take a certain amount of people and start our own things. He sounded like he listened to the Honorable Marcus Garvey, who really did give Mr. Elijah Muhammad the theory of the NOI Muslims. You know, our biggest thing, we don't want to go through our history. And Brother Darrell, you talked about our biggest thing is education and agriculture. Let's stress that. African education. We need to know about us. We need to let our children know about who we truly are. We are civilized people living among uncivilized people that we choose to follow because we got some indoctrinated Negroes that they always have on both sides of these parties. And we got to understand they are the sellouts and the misleaders. They need our vote, black people. They need us to give our consent to their contempt. That's why nothing has changed for black people. And it won't change unless we get out and start our own. You know, in the Constitution that they created, the so-called founding father, who are now raping the white people, their job is to make sure that we vote to let them know that we are weak people and we need leaders. Black people, we are leaders. They got us so disturbed and disruptive that we don't understand each other, and we too scared to trust each other because we have so many infiltrators that this government tries to break us up. But you two guys are talking on the money, but talk with a lot of power because we don't need to ask black people what's our next move. We got to tell black people. That's our biggest problem. We're so busy following until we don't even understand we are leaders. Without us, nobody survives. Every culture lives off our back. From the Asian to the whites, they all need us to survive. Without us, there is no them, but we keep on thinking we got to ask them what's our next move.
Okay.
So we got to wake up our own selves. Not this government, not this religion that they call Christianity and these black sellout pastors in these Baptist churches. Us, the black people. And like I say, we only need a few because we don't need fake black people coming in to disturb us and go tell a white man what we're doing. Because as you notice, everything in this government is a copy from our African history leaders.
Okay.
They take everything that we put out there and then transform it to them like they created everything. So y'all keep saying what y'all got to say, but tell it like it is. There ain't no more action no more. We saw what we needed to see. All the leaders before us have told us what we need to do. Start our own. We are the ones they need. Without us, there is no them. Keep talking what y'all talking, guys. And don't forget George Floyd reunion tomorrow, please.
Yes,
These
sir.
white folks are getting incredibly crazy from our black caucuses and the NAACP who allows them to disrespect us. Thank y'all. Have a nice night.
I think, you know, it is, and we are thankful for all of those who have gone before, the Marcus Garveys and all of that. You know, Yakub was on the earth way before Marcus Garvey, just the historical point. But I understand what brother is saying, and he's an example of what I mentioned earlier. That people want to say, okay, what do we do? And that's the thing that we have to come to the table and say, okay, why haven't we done these things, right? Why haven't we done these things? Because it's a difference between knowing what to do and doing it, right? And, you know, and that's the thing we have to find. We got to begin to start doing it and then analyze why haven't we done it? We all have, every organization has some successes that they can point to, but it's not the full success that we need. And maybe, you know, as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said, that he's been instructed by his teacher to be quiet during this time. And everything that he has warned us about, we're starting to see it, and we're starting to see more, because maybe those flames, as it is in the book of Ezekiel, that those four winds begin to start whipping the bones, and then the bones came together and realized this is what we're going to do. So maybe with all of this stuff that's taking place, now the black people in our community who have the means might get together with the black people that have the intelligence and the wisdom, and get together with the black people that have the know-how on how to build, the engineers, and say, let's come together, and we're not going to worry about you being a Muslim, you being a Christian, you being this, you being that. Listen, man, we're going to come together and get this thing done.
Absolutely. And as the Honorable Louis Farrakhan points out, whatever we do not do in our lifetime, we leave it to the next generation to do. So the more we can get done now, the less it'll be for our people. In other words, I ain't gonna say the less, but they'll be able to move to a higher level of work if we can get certain basic things done. And a lot of times, the laziness of living in a microwave society sometimes contributes to this, because, you know, my wife and I have a garden where we grow some of what we eat. And of course, we get food from the food co-op. We got a couple 100 pounds of beans in here. We got rice. We're kind of supporting the do for self and then attempting to do for self. But now when you go out in that garden, especially in the state of Louisiana, it's 95 degrees in that garden. And there are bugs out there and all this other kind of stuff. Now we did it for white folks for centuries. We were in the field for them, but it's another thing to get into the field for yourself. It's okay to pick cotton if it's your cotton. You see, we should all be willing to go back to the field again, but for ourselves and on our own farms. See, being a cotton picker is fine. Even a burger flipper if it's my burger. You know what I mean? Yeah, being a truck driver if it's my truck. We have to think in these kind of terms, and that's where the Honorable Louis Farrakhan and his father before him, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, has been attempting to lead us. But as one brother said, we don't respond properly to leadership. Marcus Garvey had big problems with people and organizations not following through on orders and instructions and deviating from the path. He talked about that extensively. The problem with us and our self-hate interfering with the progress of the whole. But the Honorable Louis Farrakhan would probably say, and I don't know if you agree with me or not on that, you can chime in, but he would probably say that everything that's happening in the state of Louisiana and all over the place with the Voting Rights Act, the affirmative action being eliminated, Section 2 and Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act being gutted, he would probably say that this is just a wind, another wind blowing on the bones. And as he said about Ronald Reagan, he said Ronald Reagan is just a wind blowing on the bones to get the bones to come together.
I agree. And I agree with that. And if you look at our history, we tend to do better as a community when we are persecuted and feeling the heat from those, right? When President Trump first got into office, Black enrollment at HBCUs accelerated, right? So we are that type of people that when we are pushed, we're going to end up coming together and start doing what we need to do. So that it may take that to happen. You see what I'm saying? To beat us into understanding, you have to do something for yourselves. And when you look around, you're seeing pockets of Black people doing things. You're seeing Black people buying land. I just saw something. I didn't get a chance to read the full article, watch the video, where his brother said he just got tired of the anti-Black stuff he was experiencing in America, and he just went and bought some land for him and his family, not just his intermediate family, but his extended family as well. And they live there and they own their place. You see, so you're seeing Black people who are doing it, but they're doing it some collectively, some individually, but we're trying to do it for the masses. Because the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, don't think for yourself, think for the whole. And that takes a little longer, right? That takes a little longer. But nonetheless, we have to continue to keep working on it. Like for those of us who are here right now watching this, I think sometimes, like what could somebody watching this interview or this discussion do when the camera goes off? Some stuff that they can be doing is be committed to your family, right? We know that the Black community benefits when families are together. Do that. Be engaged in your children's life, right? Push your children to be, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad is not, and Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is not anti-education. Push our children to be academically excellent, but also understand, give them a knowledge of self and let them know you have to get this education for the purpose of coming back and benefiting your community, So we got to begin to start looking at things that we can do right now, that it don't require the masses. Get engaged with the people in your neighborhood, that we're going to be responsible for this block. So it's little bitty things that we can begin to start doing. Start picking up books and reading and start telling other people to read. Like if you look at people that on Facebook, on social media, most people have probably at minimum 1,000 people that they follow, that follow them on social media. That's a lot of people. How many people can use some of their posts to begin to start posting stuff that elevate people's consciousness. Whatever black leader that you feel does so. If it's the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, it's the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, if it's Marcus Garvey, if it's Booker T. Washington, if it's Dr. Umar, whoever it is, begin to start sharing that stuff and ask people to think about what they're doing, because it's all helping. And then the other thing is, go get involved with something. If it may not be the Nation of Islam, go get involved with some black organization that you feel is doing something for the advancement and benefit of our community. And lastly, don't engage in efforts to pull down and attack other black organizations, especially in public. We might have issues with them, but have those conversations in private, right? Because that's what these white folks do. They don't like, all the Republicans don't like each other. But when it come down for their agenda, they all lock in step for the most part.
Brother Darrell, we have another phone call.
Yes, sir. Let's go ahead and take it, Brother Director.
Go ahead, caller.
Yes, a fantastic program, Brother Willie Muhammad and Brother Darrell Muhammad. I was calling in to ask the difference between what's going on today. Okay, you remember Henrietta Lacks. Henrietta Lacks, she was the sister that wind up dying from being in the hands of these white doctors, and she had she was the one that had the Healy the Healy that healer cells, and till today the Healy cell is still viable. The family barely got anything. Oh no, the family didn't get anything. But I just wanted to say that between the white modern physicians compared to what they've done to Fannie Lou Hamer from the Tuskegee dealing with the syphilis, do you all really think that the Ebola virus is something that can't be cured? And your president, he don't want Americans who have contracted it to come back to the United States. So I was wondering, how do you think that white superiority continuously exists? Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said you can't fathom the depths of Satan. So we don't know, we can't fathom the stuff that these people will do in order to further their agenda. You know what I'm saying? If it's coming out with these diseases and to frighten people, to get people to go and take certain things, we can't fathom it, And white supremacy hasn't gone anywhere. It hasn't gone anywhere. It hasn't gone anywhere.
No, sir, and it's just as entrenched as it was. As a matter of fact, it's evolved, and I believe gotten a lot more crafty. Yeah, a lot more crafty, and they have always been able, all the way back to the 50s, they've been able to get people who are willing to come out against people that were trying to engage in upward mobility for black people. They've always been able to trot out Negroes that'll say things against black people and what black people want to do. They used to give people a lot of interviews. There was a black woman who just lambasted Dr. King, just talked about him and how he's against this country. I mean, when you look at what people said then, and you look at what a lot of people are saying now, you will see it's almost word for word what was said in the 50s and 60s. But our lack of knowledge of history will a lot of times make us think it's something new. But no, this sellout mentality among some of our people has been going on for quite some time. And that's why the Honorable Louis Farrakhan say this, we want unity, but it ain't a unity party with punks. It ain't a unity party with snitches and hypocrites. It's those of us who want liberation that need to come together. And That's the way the Honorable Louis Farrakhan laid it out. It's not going to be everybody. And as you said with Yaqub and the history of Yaqub, bringing it to the modern time, it's those that want to do, it's a certain segment of people that can begin to move and make things happen. And when you look at the book of Daniel, you had this stone that was hewn out of a mountain without hands, but that stone rolled around Babylon, and then it smote the image, and then it became a mountain itself, and then it filled the whole earth. But it started with a small stone. And I believe that's a scriptural picture of what you were talking about in Yaqub's history.
You know, brother, it's all of us have to do our part while we are alive. You know, what can I do to advance and keep this struggle? Because some of us, because we're not passing down the struggle that our people experience to our children, we're sending our children in environments where they're being attacked and bullied, and then they end up facing certain dilemmas. But that's why we have to educate our children, and then that's why we also don't need to put our children in environments like that. You know what I'm saying? So as Black people, we can't make certain what we believe to be advances, because some of us would make, like when President Obama was elected, you started seeing Black people on television, national news, debating whether or not if Black organizations like the Nation of Islam, the NAACP, or whatever, was still relevant. Like, just because you got somebody in office for 4 years, 8 years at the most, now you just want to think, oh, we made it. And see, that's the part that we have to look in the mirror and have to accept that when integration was allowed, we begin to abandon our stuff. What if we would have held on to that? And as you said, what about those people who were saying, listen, we're not into integration. We want to continue to focus on doing for ourselves. But you're starting to hear it. There's a big pastor in New York. I think he's over a big church. And he said that he told his congregation, he said that I'm starting to wonder if integration was the wrong idea. And there are others who are starting to begin to think like that, you know. So, and also with our people, we have to have patience, because we are the children of Israel in the Bible. And when they were leaving Exodus, when they were leaving Egypt, it was supposed to be a 40-day journey, ended up being 40 years. And one of the reasons it ended up being 40 years because the leadership, there were those who wanted to go back to Egypt. They didn't want what they professed out of their mouths. They're like, no, we want to, even if we can eat the right food under our oppressor who was trying to kill our sons, we want that rather than going do for self, right? And if you go back and look at that, you see that's us. And God was upset with those who thought like that. And he told Moses and Joshua and them, look, we're going to let them wander into this desert until all of those who think like that, until they are no longer amongst us. You know, I deal with children. I taught in the school systems teaching African-American studies. And when we get to the moment where we're covering civil rights, I go through the full scope of civil rights, where they learn what the civil rights movement was, who was leaders, what was their agenda, what was their aims, what were their objectives, what were their tasks, and what was the outcome. And then I go through the Black nationalist movement, the aims, the objectives, the leaders, et cetera, and children. And I don't infuse my view on it. Of course, I have a view, but I don't do that. And then when I present an assignment to the students to compare the civil rights movement or the Black nationalist movement, which one they think they felt like Black people should have put their full thrust behind, man, nearly 98% of those children say it made more sense for us to focus on building our own than forcing ourselves amongst people who didn't want us to be there. So they have the spirit for it. It's just that we have to also, with Yaqub, he took his people out of this environment. Imagine him trying to build this new people, and his followers got to keep battling people saying, that man Yaqub is crazy. He a nut. No, he took them out of that environment. He was in an environment that he controlled, and he was able to produce a people that came back and implemented their will, right? Maybe that's what we need to do as well. Like, listen, we put out the command enough. We reached out to our people. Now we're going to go and take those who of like mind who want to see our own. We're going to work from there.
Absolutely. And look, I recommend this book all the time, Brother Minister. This book called Message to the Black Man. I realized that it was published 61 years ago, but it continues to be a major seller even to this day. Okay. It continues to be a major seller. And it probably is a major seller at your mosque as well as my mosque in Baton Rouge. But on page 258 of Message to the Black Man, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad writes, the government only wants to pacify her once slaves with fancy false promises that she knows she cannot fulfill without the loss of friendship and bloodshed among her own people. But there is nothing like a good future in these rosy promises for the so-called Negroes. Why should the government hinder us? And of course, that was published 61 years ago, and it's showing today. Your sound went out.
My sound went out? Can you hear me?
Go ahead. You're back now.
Like, we don't know what, like what in the book of Habakkuk, when Habakkuk was talking to God, it was like, God, how you allowing all this stuff to continue to keep existing? The wicked is ruling. And Habakkuk was like, God, why aren't you doing anything? And then God spoke to Habakkuk and said, I am doing something. He said, I'm doing something that's so great that even if I told you, you wouldn't believe it. So Habakkuk had this view like, God, you're being inactive, but God was like, no, I got a plan in place, but you just don't see it. So maybe with all of this stuff that's coming in, somebody might get to a position and say, you know something, I'm sick of this, Dan. I'm sick of y'all black folks. We need y'all to select y'all representatives, come up to this meeting we're going to have, and we're going to discuss about y'all going to some place to have y'all own. It may be getting to that, and we may not even realize it, because you're starting to see it. So we don't know what's going on, but we have to continue to keep pushing, continue to keep hope, keep hope alive in our people, and continue to keep the principles and continue to keep passing down the fight and letting our children know, like, yo, don't give up just because they gave some, don't think just because they gave some athlete a $300 million contract, that means black people made it. Oh no, we work more than that, and the struggle continues. Absolutely.
And incidentally, athletes began to make these millions of dollars really at the appearance of Muhammad Ali. World champions went from getting $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 for a fight to when Muhammad Ali got in the game, backed by the Fruit of Islam, that thing went all the way to $7 million for a fight in the 70s, when $7 million was real money, And when you look at the purses that Muhammad Ali got, it's mind-blowing for that era. But people don't realize the great contribution that Muslims make, that these multi-million-dollar contracts now, the person who broke through all of that, who made the millions first, is Muhammad Ali. Okay, our athletes were broke back then until Muhammad Ali came. That was the multi-million-dollar man. That was the first multi-million-dollar man as an athlete in America. It was Muhammad Ali. And Muhammad Ali broke that ceiling. So all of these multi-million-dollar contracts, the Nation of Islam, the teaching of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad made that possible, because fighters were not getting even $100,000. Black fighters were not getting during, until Muhammad Ali came on scene. Yeah. And now look at it.
And something else, this is, I've shared the name of this documentary with some people. It's on Netflix. It's titled Wild Wild Country. And, they got some wild stuff in there, but if you watch the first 2 or 3 episodes, you can see what it's talking about. And in short, this man was a Indian. He was from India, and he was like a spiritualist. He had this community, and white people from America were leaving their jobs. They were tired of working in corporate America, and they were going there to be a part of his religious community. And he had a woman who was she was like his chief of staff. She left India, came to America, went to school, married married a husband. Her husband died, and she wanted to go back to India. But the teacher, the spiritualist, told her no. He said that we're filled to capacity. We need something new. We need a new place. He asked her to begin to start looking in America to find places where they can develop a community. She was in Portland. She was in Oregon. She went to a spot where it was basically, quote unquote, unproducing land. The people didn't even want it. She told him, they bought the land. Listen to what he did. Now, this is a community, they did meditation and all of this other stuff. They did a census of the people in their community. They asked for the plumbers, the engineers, the carpenters, the electricians, and all of these people who can build society, and they sent them. And they began to start building their own little oasis in this part of Oregon, right? And when they asked her, well, where are the people who do meditation? She said, they're coming, we don't need them right now. She said, we need builders. Man, these people begin to start building their own stuff. Animals begin to start coming back. Then they begin to start, the whites in the area begin to start being suspect, like, man, what are they doing? Then these people realized that we got to get involved with the local politics. They started electing their own. They started buying up property. They began to be so influenced that when they got on the city council, they passed a legislation where they had their own separate police force. Man, you got to watch this. It's wild, wild country. Eventually, the spiritual leader came over and he got corrupt by this pull of America, this materialism. But when I looked at that, I said, man, this is proof that what the Most High Elijah Muhammad is talking about, it can be done, man. Man, you please go watch it because I would like to get your input on it. It's called Wild, Wild Country, where they were building, they had their own little town. Very powerful.
Praise be to Allah. And there are a lot of towns. As the Honorable Louis Farrakhan said, he said, America is for sale. You can pool your resources and you can begin to buy pieces of America and you can do your own thing. And of course, there's significant resistance to some Muslims who want their own little community.
Going on in Texas, right?
In Texas, yeah, there's
3 minutes, Brother Darrell. 3 minutes.
Significant resistance to that. But I think, we definitely have the ability to buy some land, build some houses, dig a well, and start to do our own thing and get away from all of this carcinogenic food that is killing us, all this processed food, the vegetables that are supposed to be organic. There was an article in the Final Call that said a lot of times that organic label really is a lie. But what happens when a liar writes the label? When a liar puts the label on your food, you really can't rely on the label. So that's unfortunate. But again, we must do for self, as you said, or suffer the consequences. But I want to, of course, thank you, Brother Minister, for taking time out of your very busy schedule in New Orleans with the congregation of great believers that you lead in that city. On behalf of the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, I definitely want to thank you, brother, for your years of service to our nation and your years of service to the city of New Orleans. You are an absolute treasure and a jewel for that city. And over time, our people will know more and more just how much of a blessing that you are and have been to New Orleans and to the whole state. Of course, I want to thank all of the viewing audience. Without you, this would not be possible. And do you have a last word for us? We got 1 minute left.
As the Most High Elijah Muhammad said, do for self or suffer the consequences.
Man, there it is. And that's the sentiment of one of our callers. We got to do for self. Grow your own food. Start a garden today so that you will not be subjected to all the poisons that the enemy is adding to our food. And again, I want to thank everybody for listening. I want to thank the director and the producer of the Community Defender Talk Show and all of our viewers and listeners. May Allah continue to bless you and your families as your brother Darrell Muhammad. Greet you in peace. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.